if you were the real Alex Jones, I would eat that pill. Okay. But I'm just not sure you're the real Alex Jones. I'm not sure about it.
I'm not sure, like an animatronic robot from Chuck E. Cheese. What you look like?
I'm pretty sure I'm not an animatronic.
I think you look like the rat from Chuck E. Cheese. The rat from Chuck E. Cheese. The rat from Chuck E. Cheese. Chuck E. Cheese the rat. Chuck E. Cheese the rat.
I have a nickname for Alex Jones.
Chuck E. I am calling on the forces of mean power.
Is this fun?
You are now the rat man.
This is a fun game.
You are Chuck E. Cheese. You are Chuck E. Cheese.
I have a First Amendment right to accuse people of whatever I want. That's what I've just learned.
You're in a private hotel. Eat your brain force. Eat your brain force. Chuck E. Cheese.
Wow.
Chuck E. Cheese. Can you sing a song with me? Too powerful.
Okay.
Chuck E. Cheese.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
Oh, and I also have my brain force. I'm going to take my brain force now, unlike Chuck E. Cheese the rat, who, if you didn't see our coverage of our speeches that we did at the National Press Club, you would have been amazed. So we are in some serious times, though, but I am going to pop these two brain force so I have a little more pep in my step as I take you into the next day, into Friday the 13th. I'm going to take these right now. All right. Where to begin? Where to begin? Let's start with this story. And we're going to get into some Syria news coming up in the next hour. I'm probably going to do two different segments on Syria, one with Kit and one with Darren McBring. But Alexa falls for conspiracy theories too. Amazon fixes embarrassing error that saw its voice assistant telling users government is secretly behind chemtrails. Alexa has been recorded telling users that chemtrails are a conspiracy theory. That kind of means that it's fake, right? If it's a conspiracy theory. Amazon has since fixed the error by changing Alexa's answer to the question. Numerous scientists have debunked the chemtrails conspiracy theory. The white streaks are actually high-altitude contrails. And they're often debated as condensation trails. Now, let's go to a clip from when he was CIA Director John Brennan talking about, well, spraying things in the atmosphere that aren't water condensation. Are you ready for that clip? Let's play it.
Another example is the array of technologies, often referred to collectively as geoengineering, that potentially could help reverse the warming effects of global climate change. One that has gained my personal attention is stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI, a method of seeding the stratosphere with particles that can help reflect the sun's heat in much the same way that volcanic eruptions do. An SAI program could limit global temperature increases, reducing some risks associated with higher temperatures and providing the world economy additional time to transition from fossil fuels. This process is also relatively inexpensive. The National Research Council estimates that a fully deployed SAI program would cost about $10 billion yearly. As promising as it may be, moving forward on SAI would also raise a number of challenges for our government and for the international community. On the technical side, greenhouse gas emission reductions would still have to accompany SAI to address other climate change effects, such as ocean acidification, because SAI alone would not remove greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. On the geopolitical side, the technology's potential to alter weather patterns and benefit certain regions of the world at the expense of other regions could trigger sharp opposition by some nations. Others might seize on SAI's benefits and back away from their commitment to carbon dioxide reductions. And as with other breakthrough technologies, global norms and standards are lacking to guide the deployment and implementation of SAI and other geoengineering initiatives. Now, I could go on and on and on and on about the things that fascinate me, but rather than talk about them, I thought I'd stop here.
All right. And that was John Brennan. Sorry, I had to go print out a little image that I thought was going to get sent to the crew. But look, that was John Brennan basically explaining chemtrails to the world right there. And here's an interesting article from Technocracy News and Trends. Geoengineering exposed scientists to dim sunlight in order to cool the planet. Although most of the article is about carbon sucking. That's what they call it. There's a company in Zurich, Switzerland. They're called Climeworks. And they want to suck greenhouse gases from the air with giant fans and filters and a $23 million project. That is called the world's first commercial carbon dioxide capture plant. They've gotten money from Bill Gates, the European Space Agency, and they say it costs about $600 to extract a ton of carbon from the air. And in 2017, they were able to do 9,000 tons a year, and they say that's the equivalent of annual emissions of 45 Americans. So 45 mouth breathers out there are putting out 900 tons. Now, you divide 45 into 900, that's 20 tons of carbon per year per person. Multiply that by 350 million, that's 7 billion tons of carbon that you have to get out just to account for the United States population, which is about 350 million. The cost of that at $600 per ton, $4.2 trillion. So for $4.2 trillion, we can get rid of the carbon, in theory, for the population of the United States per year. So $4.2 billion a year, $4.2 trillion a year, $4.2 trillion a year. We can get rid of all that carbon. That sounds like that'll work. That sounds like a boondoggle, doesn't it? Sounds like it's worth to spend $4.2 trillion on a problem, on a gas that plants breathe and produce oxygen, right? Natural News had an article. Bombshell, leading climate scientist admits geoengineering experiment is going on now. And we've seen this in documentaries like What in the World Are They Spraying? Why in the World Are They Spraying? Where they go to these conferences and they interview these guys and they all admit, oh, yes, we're doing geoengineering, but it's just testing. A year. We can get rid of all that carbon. That sounds like that'll work. That sounds like a boondoggle, doesn't it? Sounds like it's worth to spend $4.2 trillion on a problem, on a gas that plants breathe and produce oxygen, right? Natural News had an article. Bombshell, leading climate scientist admits geoengineering experiment is going on now. And we've seen this in documentaries like What in the World Are They Spraying? Why in the World Are They Spraying? Where they go to these conferences and they interview these guys and they all admit, oh, yes, we're doing geoengineering, but it's just testing. It's just testing. Don't worry. And I think there's a code in the U.S. code that allows the government to do any kind of experiment as long as it's testing. They could test gas on people. They can, and they used to do this. They used to put poison gas in subways and do these fake gas attacks and put bacteria agents to see how they would flow through the ventilation systems. Used to do this in New York City. They would get people sick too. And they're, well, hey, it was just testing, so it's okay.
Good evening, Anderson. Well, what we've learned from a senior U.S. official is that the U.S. military and intelligence community does now have the communications intercepts of the Syrian military and chemical experts talking about preparations for that sarin attack. Now, with officials...
Hello, this is Syrian military. Under orders of Putin, we launched chemical attack on civilian. So United States invade and defeat us. This is radio transmission of our plan to launch the chemical attack to cross the red line so that they invade us and defeat us. We We do this because we're winning now. And we do this now so Saudi Arabia can invade us and take over. We want to be thrown out of power. That's why we've fought civil war started by West for 6 years. So we agree with your Adam Schiff. Oh, great American, that we are all evil agents of Putin, and that is why we are doing this. There are new recordings released and the witnesses on the CNN. They are the most trusted network. They are the good people, so we're going to do what they say. Thank you, CNN. We love the CNN.
That hospital medical clinic, there was a Russian drone flying over it, collecting intelligence. About 5 hours later, an unidentified aircraft comes in, drops a conventional bomb right in that area. The theory is the drone was photographing, collecting the evidence, the pictures of the people being there being treated. Whoever called in that second unidentified aircraft wanted the evidence destroyed of injured people being there.
Thank you for watching the Stop the New World Order Emergency 34-hour broadcast. I'm your host, Rob Dew. Joining me is Kit Daniels. Coming up next in about 26 minutes will be John Blount and Harrison Smith. Mm-hmm. Then after that will be Dan Lyman, who will be joining us from New Zealand. And it's actually the next day there.
Yeah, he's like 15 hours.
17 hours
or something.
Yeah. And then after that, Lionel will be taking 2 hours, which that should be very interesting. That should wake you up. If I'm putting you to sleep, Lionel's definitely going to wake you up. And I have an Investor's Business Daily article right here. Startling new discovery could destroy all these global warming doomsday forecasts.
Is that Tex Marr or Lindsey Graham?
That was my Lionel impression.
I'm getting a little tired too.
Well, since I just read that, let's pull up that article because it basically looks at what people were saying in the 90s about climate change. And now they're looking actually at what happened. These are my horrible notes. Let's bring the article up. So back in the 90s, everything's going to die. We're all going to die. So the first prediction was about the fish supply and that fish stocks were going to go down. There's all this overfishing, decline.
Of course, they're not worried about the chemicals they put in the water.
No, that turned the freaking frogs gay. But actually from the 90s up to, I think they started doing these around 2010, 11, fish supplies rose 30%. Mm-hmm. They actually started measuring these populations again. They're like, oh, you don't have to pause it. Just let it roll. Just keep it rolling. Keep it rolling.
We'll catch up.
There. See?
There you go.
I'm going to talk right with the graphic. The next was that population growth was going to lead to higher poverty and more malnutrition worldwide. Well, it turns out undernourished people dropped, even though the population rose by 40%. Mm-hmm. And abject poverty fell by 35%. That was from 1990 to 2015, these studies. So, which is pretty interesting that all these are done. And these are probably done with these, World Health Organizations. This other one was done by the EPA. Air pollution was going to get worse.
Of course.
It's actually gone down since the 1990s. This is based on an EPA study. Okay, which, hey, Democrats, it's the EPA.
It's surprising the EPA would admit that because that's how they get their funding. Oh, everything's more polluted now.
EPA's got a really nice building, by the way, in D.C.
Really?
Yeah. But due to all this is done, the pollution's gone down because of fracking. Isn't that amazing? Now, number 4, freshwater supplies are going to be in shorthand. So, but actually, the supplies have increased. In 1990, 76% of people had access to
Except in California, but that's due to politics.
There you go. Or in Flint, Michigan. Yeah. In 2010, though, 89% had access to fresh water. So we popped it up. The last was agricultural land was going to become less productive. And basically, the land's become far more productive, even though the amount of land that's used in agriculture has pretty much stayed the same. It hasn't increased, hasn't decreased. But it's become 34% more efficient. So you're getting 34% more food on the same amount of land. So technology and people and competition is what is making these things better. It's not environmentalists like that running around, not Al Gore running around with his fake Oscar.
What's interesting
and showing the hockey stick.
The whole environmentalist thing got so toxic to most people that you notice now that if you go to a new car lot, you'll notice that you can't even buy a new car hardly that's in the color green, because people associate that with environmentalists, especially the whole Greenpeace and the guys, the really radical ones. So yeah, you'll notice if you're driving down the highway that you won't see too many green cars that are brand new anymore.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. And I would not have correlated that with the green movement. But yeah, that does make sense.
It was about 25 years ago that I began to read publicly available books that had been written for the State Department and for the CIA by top professors at Georgetown, Harvard, and Yale, so that the CIA and other agencies could understand the complex political system they were building. And in short, it was going to be called a technocracy. But it was going to fund communism and socialism and fascism. But really what it was crony capitalism. So decades later, after fighting against this, humanity is somewhat awake to the threat. But at the same time, despite all our successes, changing this paradigm really is an inside job. It's up to us personally. So I don't feel sorry for myself being demonized by mainstream media and being attacked and the globalists filing frivolous lawsuits. I expected that to happen. This is 21st century warfare. I just want to make sure that you, the listeners, and you, the viewers, many of you already understand this, so I'm not patronizing those of you that are already awake, but I want to make sure all of you realize this isn't just some more entertainment. This isn't just some other talking head. The reason they hate what we cover is because I and others have researched what they actually are planning, and it is nightmarish, it is authoritarian, it is eugenics-based, it is anti-human. And we've already come so far together that I know that if each and every one of you will just go research these issues for yourself, you will find out how real it is and understand it's not your duty. It is your basic survival to stand up against this anti-human onslaught. If you go back into history, it was 3% that volunteered for the Revolutionary War back in 1776. But if you look at the Infowar's audience, it's maybe 10% of the United States, another 10% or so worldwide. I think that's a conservative estimate. But we have 50, 60, 70 million people listening. We have more than that have tuned in over the years. The point is that if you look at that, that's less than 3% of the world population. So what you're doing has already changed the world. And instead of sitting here and going into each product and telling you how great they are, I'm just going to encourage you to go research them yourselves, because you're funding our operation. And just like our information has changed the world, any products we sell are game-changing. Myco ZX sold out for months, anti-fungus, anti-yeast, anti-mold for the gut. The other equation of probiotic, it's now stronger and a lower price at InfoWarsStore.com. We've got the Real Red Pill that's got pregnenolone, that is a base natural hormone precursor in the body, then all the different vitamins and minerals, amino acids, just does incredible things. Look into the Real Red Pill for yourself. And then we have a new addition to the Super Blue family of products. You know about our best-selling fluoride-free toothpaste that's fortified with colloidal silver and iodine and other key compounds that are so good for your gums and teeth. We now have not just the mouthwash, but Super Blue Silver Immune Gargle Mouth Spray that is concentrated with one of the strongest patented forms of colloidal silver out there, silver sol, nano silver, iodine, deionized water, stevia, peppermint, essential oil, and so much more. It's great for the throat and the body. You can swallow it as well. So Super Blue Silver Immune Gargle is also the latest product we've got at InfoWarsLife.com. And without you, we couldn't do it. So thank you all for remembering InfoWarsStore.com and remembering that it's not just you that's already awake, but it's other people that aren't awake, and it's so essential to spread the word. Again, thank you so much for being part of the Second American Revolution.